welcome back to Faces of the Family. We have a very exciting guest today, Deacon C.J. Wild. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Some great questions lined up. We're going to talk a little bit about your vocation, about you growing up, about your family, about your upcoming ordination, we're just going to have some fun, talk a little.
All right. So to get us started, do you want to just share a little bit about like what it was like growing up, your family, and like what church you attended, school you attended?
Sure. So I'll give you like the short, medium version because I know we can't be here for 2 hours.
Pretty long.
Anyway, so I grew up here right in Lancaster, right in the village. My family lives in the house that my mom's dad built, my papa. Okay. So our family's been here for, 50 years or so. And we grew up going to Our Lady of Pompeii where we still attend Mass. And so I started going to Pompeii really from the time I was born. My sister was baptized there. We made all of our sacraments there, first confession, communion. I was confirmed there. I was ordained a deacon there last year.
Yes.
Before all of the things that the Lord's done for me in the sacraments, my parents were married there. And so they were able to celebrate that beautiful moment together there. So Pompeii has always been a big part of our family. And Maria and I, my little sister Maria, we started going to school there when we were in elementary school. And so I really loved going to school there because not only did we have a really great small community, but it gave me the opportunity to learn about the faith each day. We had religion class. I'm a big history guy, so even from a little age, I was super excited to learn all about New York State history and the Erie Canal and America and ancient Rome. And so we had a really great just set of teachers and faculty and staff who made learning exciting. Father Leon Burnett was our pastor back then, and so we became very close. Our family became very close with him. You know, he had been vocation director back before he arrived at Pompeii, so he was always encouraging young guys to think about priesthood, young ladies to think about religious life, all of us to think about marriage.
The picture with the collar?
That would be the picture with the collar. So that was for my first communion, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So Father Leon, he was pastor when I made my first communion, and so when he came to the party later that evening, I was wearing my shirt and tie, but I'm like, I need to dress like Father Leon, so I threw a black turtleneck on, and then he's like, well, you're not a priest if you don't have a collar, so he took his white collar out and put it on my neck there.
So we'll have to get a picture.
Yeah.
I'll send you one.
For sure. Okay, so obviously you mentioned that you've really grown up at Pompeii. You've been going to church your whole life. When did you feel that your personal faith relationship with Jesus and God, when did that begin?
Sure. I would point to probably maybe 3 or 4 moments where the Lord was really speaking to me clearly in sort of a gradual way, sort of a quiet, simple way, but in a way that allowed me to more gently get to know him, if you will. You know, it wasn't like one shocking moment, like we talk about St. Paul or St. Augustine, who just had this crazy conversion story. But for me, I sensed there was something really special about being Catholic when I made my first communion. And I became an altar server shortly thereafter. I was super excited to sign up for Christmas Mass and Easter Mass and to be in the rotation. And I just loved being at church. And I couldn't quite articulate it the way that we might be able to now with greater understanding of theology and sacraments. But for me, I knew that God was present and there was something really wonderful about being at Mass. So that'd be a big one, make my first communion, becoming an altar server. A second one would be when I was in 8th grade, I was a student, like I said, at Pompeii. We made a retreat, our whole class, with Father Leon and a couple teachers out at Christ the King Seminary. And I remember being in Eucharistic adoration there. And I'd been in adoration before, but I remember in that moment so clearly. It was a little tiny chapel. It was in the evening. It was dark, kind of candlelit. And I remember feeling in such a profound way God's presence and his peace, feeling the peace of God just like wrapped around me, And then I think a third moment that I really sensed the Lord's presence and inviting me to grow closer to him would have been when I was in high school. I was really privileged, really blessed to be able to go on a mission trip to Nicaragua. And being with the people there in the middle of a small village, Coyolito, I don't think it's even on the map, honestly.
Really?
That really provided me the time and the space and the silence to hear God's voice in a really beautiful and profound way.
Okay, that's beautiful.
That's wonderful.
Okay, so when did you first feel the call to the priesthood?
First felt the call to the priesthood. I would say, this is sort of a gradual thing, I would say. I would point to, again, there were really a couple people in my life who encouraged me to think about it. Father Leon encouraged me. There were some little old ladies at Pompeii who would sit up before we had the pews, we had chairs where people who were like with walkers would sit.
Mm-hmm.
And, a couple of the old ladies like Fedora Marinelli, Anna Ventura, they've gone home to the Lord now, but they would say, "You'd be such a good priest." They're like 90 years old.
Yeah.
And so between the parish supporting me, between the priest supporting me, my family making faith a priority, the opportunity to attend Canisius High School where I was able to, again, study our faith each and every day. There have been so many people, and I think that's really important, is that that the Lord continues to speak to us through other people, and He's inviting us to be open and to be docile and to be humble enough to listen to those voices.
So you mentioned that there was people at Pompeii in your family that really encouraged you along the way. Did you ever feel any doubt from other people or from yourself when you were decided to go to seminary, decided you wanted to become a priest?
Any doubts? Doubt's a tough word. There were challenges for sure, and there have been challenges along the way. I would say I was never like bent on being a priest from the time I was a little kid. I thought about a lot of other things. Thought about being a professional firefighter, moving to the city of Buffalo. My dad's a teacher. I thought about becoming a teacher. My next door neighbor's a nurse. I thought about being a nurse. So the priesthood was sort of in my mind when I was a kid and high schooler. It was like one among many choices. And there was like this increasing clarity that, okay, there's all these choices and they're all good. And then I got to college and I thought, okay, the Lord was inviting me to make the church a priority in my life and to make our faith part of my career, my livelihood. And so I got closer to thinking, okay, maybe like religion teacher or campus ministry or something like this. Priesthood still on the table, but there was a lot of challenges. I mean, certainly the reality that every young man has to come to terms with, that is that we would not be getting married. We would be giving up the possibility of having our own natural children. And so that was something that I wrestled with, especially having dated in the past and, trying to wrestle with those tough times and those thoughts. And then I would say one other challenge was just the fact that, the church is on hard times here in Buffalo. Now we know that the gates of hell will not prevail against it, against us, against the wonderful church that we call home. But between the seminary closing and the scandals and the bankruptcy, that's been a challenge along the way too, to stay strong.
Yeah. How do you overcome that?
I think certainly by grace. That's the first word that comes to mind.
For sure.
Just really entrusting it all to the Lord. It's easy to look at things from our perspective, but as we're approaching ordination, and I've been thinking about this a lot more, about the role of the Holy Spirit in our lives, in my life in particular, how the Holy Spirit gives us that gift of wisdom to see things from God's perspective. And so I think just even in prayer, just asking the Lord to try to help me to see things the way He sees things, not from my own narrow, limited human perspective.
Start living for the kingdom and not for the world, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So you mentioned prayer. Is there a specific prayer that you have prayed to help you overcome any challenges that you've faced?
Yeah, there's a couple of prayers. And of course, I don't want to be dismissive of any of the prayers because there's so many prayers in the church, but some mean more than others. Exactly. And I mean, first and foremost, can't be understated how important the Mass is to me, to all of us.
Absolutely.
And then as a seminarian and as a deacon now, praying the Liturgy of the Hours every day has been a great source of strength. We pray the Psalms each and every day throughout the day. And some are Psalms of hope and joy. Some are lament and sadness. And so I always find that even if I don't feel like that in the moment, there's probably another time where I'll feel like that, and that Psalm will resonate with me. But also, it's reminded me that prayer is an opportunity to unite our longings, our hopes, our desires with the whole body of Christ. And so one of my professors said, you're praying these Psalms and you might not feel like this right now, but someone in the world does.
Yes, that's amazing.
And so I'd say one other prayer too, and this is probably part of my Canisius Jesuit education shining through, is the Sushi Pay of St. Ignatius. And it's, take, Lord, receive my liberty, my will, my memory, my understanding, all that I have and on, and give me nothing more but your love and grace. These alone are enough for me. It's sort of been adapted into a song. You might hear it. You may have played it.
That's
awesome. Yeah, St. Ignatius is wonderful.
Cool. Okay, so I think you're the third priest to come from Pompeii. You will be, right? Three?
Yeah,
three, maybe?
It depends how you count them, right?
Okay.
So certainly the favorite son of all time is Monsignor David Lapou,
Yes.
Father David. rector of the basilica,
Mm-hmm.
and so he was ordained a priest at Pompeii back in the 80s,
Wow.
maybe 30 some years ago, and then Father Babo Zarzak, who's been very important to my own story, my own discernment. He was our youth minister back when I was in, I guess, middle school and high school.
Okay.
And so he grew up not far away here in Elma, but he made certainly Pompeii his family, and we welcomed him when he was working here.
Yeah.
And so they've been both very inspirational and encouraging me along the way too.
Is there something about the Pompeii community that you think really helped inspire your journey and the journeys of others into the priesthood?
I think that's important. And I would even say, this is something I've been thinking about too lately. There's something about Pompeii which is unique among the parishes in our diocese, unique among the faith communities, the families of parishes, however we label them. And I was thinking about it, like even in the last 20 years, like John Gollin was ordained a permanent deacon. Dave Rotterman was ordained a permanent deacon. His daughter, Sister Catherine, who I've asked to read at ordination. She's now a religious, right? She's a Felician sister.
Yes.
There's at least one or two other young ladies who came to Pompeii Youth Group who are now sisters in the Dominicans. Seamus, another seminarian from our parish. So there's something about Pompeii. And, I have to say, I have to imagine that it's dedicating ourselves to Our Lady of Pompeii, right? To the Blessed Mother, who always wraps her arms around us and guides us to her Son. So I think that's got to be part of it. I've always found that Pompeii is a very welcoming, we have a strong sense of community at Our Lady of Pompeii. And from the time that I was a kid, I felt that at the school, at the parish. My family has felt that since they've been there since the 70s. So yeah, it's tough to put a nail or a finger on the nail, but there's something special.
Do you think another part of it is maybe the mentorship? Because there are so many priests and sisters that have come from Pompeii?
I think that's part of it too. I mean, there's a proud lineage.
Right.
And like pride in the right sense of the word, right? Not like the vicious, unhealthy, unholy pride, but like a good pride. And we love who we are and where we've come from. And we can look to these people and say, well, they give me hope, they encourage me, inspire me. I mean, there's so many, even people today who would say they saw Monsignor LaPuma grow up, and he's now in his 60s, and so there's a proud family legacy at Pompeii, generations of people.
That family connection.
Yeah.
For sure. Is there one piece of advice you would give to someone who's discerning the priesthood right now?
Oh, one piece of advice. I would say make Mass a priority.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say make Mass a priority. And it's tough to just say one thing, but that would be the number one that comes to mind. The Lord is so good in offering himself to us in the Eucharist, in the scriptures proclaimed. And so if there's anything I could say to a young person, certainly a young man thinking about priesthood, get to Mass, make it a priority.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about you being a transitional deacon right now.
Yes. Your ordination was so cool,
Yes,
by the way.
it was.
That was like the best Mass of the year for us.
By far, I think the coolest Mass we have ever sang.
Well, I'm eternally grateful to you because there were some challenges we know behind the scenes, and you were so adaptive and flexible with everything. And I still have priests coming up to me a year later and they say how beautiful it was. Bishop Malone said, most beautiful ordination he's ever been a part of. A couple other priests said they said the same thing. Most beautiful Mass in the diocese they've been a part of in a long time.
That is amazing.
So
that's encouraging to us to keep going, keep praying.
Yeah.
We're so grateful for the opportunity. It was so amazing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What has your experience as a deacon been like?
Yeah, it's been wonderful, right? So a deacon is someone who is received the sacrament of ordination, right? And we know that Holy Order is one of the 7 sacraments of the Church, and there's 3 degrees, right? Deacon, priest, and bishop. And so when a man is ordained a deacon, he is, we say, configured to Christ the servant. And so a deacon is a minister of service. He's someone who is called to humble himself like the Lord humbled himself. We hear on Holy Thursday, taking off his outer garment, washing the feet of his 12. And so as a deacon, it's really been incumbent upon me to try to enter into that space and to allow Christ to continue to transform me and configure me to be more like him in that way. And so I really love the opportunities to serve in a couple ways. I mean, down at the seminary, one of my good friends, Nick, he's a deacon in Pittsburgh. He's organized for us a whole bunch of opportunities to serve persons who are experiencing homelessness in the city of Baltimore. There's a great group of sisters that we're able to go out and just be present to the neighbors on the street. It's been wonderful to baptize. I think I've had the
Yes.
opportunity to do 14 or 15
Oh,
baptisms.
that is
Wow.
awesome.
And,
That's
wow.
amazing.
So it's been lovely. A handful of weddings too.
Yes.
Coming up.
Certainly lots
Wedding
of
coming up?
preaching. So
For sure.
yeah,
That's
being a
amazing.
deacon's been wonderful.
That is awesome.
Would you say it's helped you prepare for the priesthood in a certain way?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because as I'd heard the Archbishop of Baltimore say one time, one of the guys being ordained worked for NASA, and he used like this rocket ship
Wow.
imagery, and he said, way smarter than me. Yeah. So he said, being ordained a priest, your diaconate doesn't like fall away from you the way that like rocket boosters fall away as the shuttle or whatever goes into outer space. And so every priest is still a deacon. Every bishop is still a deacon. And so it's really important that I remember, that we all remember, that first and foremost, we're called to that humble ministry of service. That we're never above anybody. We're never called to laud anything over someone. But we're always supposed to enter into that like place of humility with Christ.
Is there a particular part of the priesthood you feel especially drawn to? Like something you're excited for, maybe a job or a role in the priesthood?
Yeah, what am I excited about with the priesthood? One of the classes I had in the seminary was about the theology of the priesthood, and particularly according to some of the French mystics and visionaries and saints of the church. And they've just renewed in me how beautiful the priesthood is, not because of anything we've done, but because of what Christ has done.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's so easy to think, right, that the priesthood is like a day-to-day, a job, perhaps people might say a career, but it's so much more. It's a beautiful sacrament. It's a calling to share in the one priesthood of Christ, And so I'm just super humbled, honored. I'm not quite even sure what the right word is to express it, but to be able to be invited into this life with Christ,
Yes.
And I think, like, to be more concrete to your question and less theological, I would say I'm really excited to celebrate the Mass. I'm so excited to be able to offer people, not because of anything I've done, but because of what Christ has done, healing, especially in reconciliation and anointing. I'm really excited to be able to be with people at really challenging moments and really exciting moments as well. The death of someone that they love, but also the birth of someone and the wedding. And, alongside that too, I'm very excited about the opportunity that the bishop's given me to serve as a Navy chaplain with our Marine Corps and our sailors. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Can you elaborate a little bit about becoming a Navy chaplain and what how have you decided to take that path?
Yeah. So it's a really important ministry in the church, right? So as a diocesan priest, we're first and foremost called to serve parishes. That's what the mission is of a diocesan priest, right? To be with people in the sacramental life. And so being a Navy chaplain is something like almost becoming a missionary of the diocesan priesthood, because we're sent from our diocese for a brief period, and then we return to our diocese, just like a missionary goes, and then they come back.
Okay.
And so a Navy chaplain is somebody who serves alongside the sailors or the Marines or the Coast Guardsmen as a Navy chaplain. And so we wear the same uniform. We're non-combatants. We don't carry weapons. That's under Geneva Convention and international law. But first and foremost, we're there to be priests. We're there to be people who are there to not only facilitate the free exercise of religion protected by the Constitution, but also to be able to remind people of home, to give them a word of encouragement or peace or hope when things are really difficult, when they're away from home and they're still going through the normal challenges of 20-year-old life, breakups and loss, and what am I doing with my life, that kind of thing. And so, Father John Kelly, who people might remember, he was here back when I was in high school, maybe 10 years ago or so, 12 years ago. And he had been in the Navy. He mentioned the idea to me for the first time. I kind of hemmed and hawed, thought about it. Anyways, long story short, it continued to surface in prayer. And so I asked Bishop Fisher. And Bishop Fisher had been in the Air Force back in the 80s.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so he was very supportive. He's been very supportive. So he gave me the seal of approval and or the stamp of approval. And so I've been able to be what's called co-sponsored with the Archdiocese for the Military Services. So I've been in about 4.5 years now.
Wow, cool.
Could you walk us a little bit through your ordination mass? What's coming up and everything?
Yeah. What
Experience
should
with
we
that?
be looking for during the Mass? We're there. What are some key parts, special parts to you that we should be watching for?
Yeah. So the ordination mass, right? So it'll be at the cathedral right, which is the seat of the bishop in our diocese. It's a sign of unity in our church locally here in Buffalo. And so it's really important that we as priests were able to be ordained at the cathedral. And so there's a couple unique things that you would see different than a normal mass. You know, there's readings as we would at other masses, but then after the gospel, there's what's called the calling of the candidate. And so the bishop and the vocation director, they'll have a brief dialogue, and people would have seen this at a diaconate ordination as well, where I'll be called forward by name from amongst the community. I'll be sitting with my family and friends.
Oh, okay.
And then proceeds the homily. And after the homily, there's what's called the promises, right? And so some of these are reaffirming promises I made last year, and some of these are new promises, sacred promises that I make before the bishop and before all of God's people in the church there, in the cathedral. And so after that comes the litany of supplication, or what people call the litany of the saints. And so for that, I would lay down on the floor, because we know that the church is not simply here on earth, church in heaven as well, right? Church triumphant. And so we call on the angels and saints to pray for, in a really humble, special way. I feel a little self-referential, but like to pray for me in that moment, that they would invoke God's blessing and power upon me to humble myself, to empty myself of everything, so that Christ can fill me up. And then so after the litany, I'd stand back up. Everybody would be kneeling, so they'll stand back up. You know? And then would come the prayer of ordination, and this is really like the essential. And so we talk about sacraments having matter and form. The matter is like the stuff, and the form are simply the words, right? So like with baptism, the matter is water, and the form is I baptize you in the name of, et cetera, et cetera. And so for man being ordained, the matter is the bishop laying his hand silently on the person's head, as we've done for 2,000 years. And then the form of the sacrament is this beautiful prayer of consecration that the bishop prays over me. And so at this point, you'd see I still have a deacon stole on, but at that moment, that's when I would become a priest. And so I'll go down. Father Leon, I've asked to vest me, so he'll put the priest vestments on me. And then my hands will be anointed with sacred chrism, the same chrism that people are confirmed with, or that altars are dedicated with. And so I'll be anointed. My hands are anointed, and then I'll receive the chalice and the paten from the bishop. And then I would take my place among the priests in the sanctuary, and then mass would continue. And after that, it would look a lot like a normal mass, just with a really long procession at the end.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting.
That is really exciting. What about your first mass? Is there anything we should be looking for during your mass of Thanksgiving? What are we looking for there?
You bring up a good point. El, because really the first mass, they say, right? The first mass is actually the priest's ordination mass, because he's concelebrating that mass. So you're right on the mark. Perfect. So Mass of Thanksgiving, It's Mass of Thanksgiving. That'll be the next day, which is Corpus Christi, the solemnity of our Lord's body and blood. And so that'll be at Our Lady of Pompeii, where, again, grew up and has meant so much to me. So it'll very much look like an ordinary, no Mass is ordinary in the common sense, right? But it'll look like Mass, right? It'll look like Mass. With a few little things sort of added in. So certainly lovely music, which is kind of standard fare at Pompeii, right? So lovely music. And I've also asked the Archbishop of the military to give a homily. And so he'll be here, and he'll be wearing his pink and white robes. He'll look a little different. He's a great man, Archbishop Aurelio, so super honored about that. And then I'll just make a few words, just thanking a lot of people at the end. And then hopefully just some time for snacks and conversation and prayer afterwards.
Perfect. Amazing. So the first time we ever worked with you was for an XLT. We were really young. We were working with Mary Palmer. Right? I remember this. And we had like a rehearsal before. It was we've been doing XLT series the whole year, and this was the first time we had a rehearsal, and we really dialed in what you were talking about, what we should be singing, all the themes, when we should start singing. And the opening song you picked, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to spoil any information about your Mass of Thanksgiving, but it's the same opening song as you picked. Yes. So that's kind of full circle for us as music. It's kind of cool to see. So it's just a fun little story.
Thanks for remembering that.
Of course.
If I could, I guess, not interview you, take over here for a second. But I was trying to think, the first time that we all met. So I was maybe in college. When did you all start singing at Pompeii?
2021.
Okay, so
2020, and then COVID happened, and then we began in August of 2020.
Yes.
Okay, so it would have been right when I was graduating college, starting seminary. So
I actually remember.
We remember
we
when
were at
came
the
up
mass
to the Imbo.
It was in the gym because it was summer, so the church was
air conditioning.
It's not And so we were all in the gym. I remember you coming up and announcing that you were going to the seminary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been a blessing for me too, because I know you two are off to college.
Yes.
And so I feel like I've also seen you three grow up.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
It's been really, really cool.
It's been quite the adventure, actually. So we're thankful for everything. All right, let's do a little bit more questions about maybe faith.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who feels God might be calling them to something more in their life? Like you were called to the priesthood. What would you say to someone who thinks they're being called to something but aren't sure what that is?
Yeah. That's sort of, we would say something like, that's the adventure of vocation.
Right.
Absolutely.
That right vocation, that calling, which means that someone is doing the calling, God, and that he's calling someone to something. And it's not always easy because it's not very clear to a lot of us what that might be. And there's pressures against us, and family pressure, and pressures of the world, and temptations, and all these things, and our own hopes and longings, And so part of listening to God's voice, like you said, and trying to understand what God might be calling someone to. I mean, first and foremost, the church offers us a beautiful teaching here in the Second Vatican Council, right? That we're all called to holiness. Something that the church has professed for 2,000 years, but really made in a clear way.
Yes.
That this is something we're all called to be saints. And so the Lord creates each of us with certain gifts and talents and dispositions and abilities. And he wants to call us to a particular way of life that will be most conducive to making those a reality and making those manifest to the world, right? So the Lord desires us to be happy, right? The Lord desires us to be joyful and peaceful and loving, the fruits of the Spirit. And so he wants to draw these things out of us, and that's part of our adventure, is trying to figure it out.
Yes.
Not easy.
No.
So I would say somebody who's trying to figure it out, if it's especially like a big question, like discerning, should I get married to this person? Or should I consider religious life or going to the seminary for priesthood? Like if it's a big question like that, I would say a couple things. First and foremost, we've got to start with prayer, spending time in prayer, just in silence with Jesus, going to church during the day, just sitting in quiet before the tabernacle, spending time reading. I would really encourage someone to spend some time reading the Gospels, especially the Gospel of Luke.
Yes.
And then also to talk to a priest or to a religious or to a married couple, somebody who's living out their vocation in a really good, holy way. And there's something beautiful about somebody who's living a holy life. There's something radiant that just like is attractive to us. And so if someone's thinking, I want to be a priest, I'd say talk to a priest. You want to be a sister, talk to a sister. You want to get married, talk to a really active, good Catholic couple. So.
Wonderful. What about for someone who feels a little bit distant from God right now? How should they go about rekindling their faith?
Yeah, I think one thing is to remember is to always be patient, and that's tough, right? Because we want things instantly. Like Cardinal Dolan, he would talk about how we prefer like a microwave meal over a crock pot meal.
Right.
Like we want something done in like 1 minute rather than like 8 hours. And so I think being patient is a really tough thing. I've even seen that now, like from middle school to high school to college to seminary. I mean, it's a long time. I would have been happy to say, yep, I want to be a priest now, but I mean, the Lord knows that I needed the time to be more intentional, to pray about it. So I'd say it's important to remember to be patient. But if someone's feeling distant from the Lord, we oftentimes, again, we want something right away. But I think it's important to ask the Lord, reveal to me what you're trying to reveal to me. Give me the wisdom that you need me to have. Give me the understanding, the knowledge that you need me to have. We pray with inexpressible groanings, right? St. Paul tells us. And we don't know how to pray as we ought. The Spirit teaches us how to pray. And so even if it's just going to the Lord in prayer, if it's in a church, great. If someone's not quite ready to enter the church, like physically in the building, go for a walk in the park. I mean, enjoy God's beautiful creation. And just ask the Lord simply in your own way, in our own imperfect, broken, not really theologically accurate, precise way. Just give the Lord your heart, right? Give the Lord your heart and ask him to help make things clear to you.
Wow, that is really great advice. What are you doing right now to prepare for your ordination? Is it prayer? Is it a lot of thought reading? What are you doing to prepare yourself?
Yeah, a couple things. So prayer first and foremost. I'm really blessed where I live out in Orleans County now at my parish. That Father Mark and I, my pastor, we have a small chapel in the rectory, so
Wonderful.
Great place to be able to pray quietly throughout the day. I'm able to I have a couple of really wonderful conversations these last couple of weeks with friends who are priests or friends who are also getting ready to be ordained priests. And so we've been able to encourage one another. And, I've been able to ask some advice from them as well.
Okay.
Just had, actually last year, I was vested by my favorite priest in Rochester, who's 92 or 93.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So we had some lunch yesterday, and he was able to give me some advice. But I think also it's reading some of the great riches that the church has given us. So the ordination ritual itself, but some of the other things that the saints have written about the priesthood too.
Cool. All right. I think we're ready to roll into our new segment. We have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you just want to answer
Yeah.
quickly, however you want to do it.
Like one word answer?
Oh, no.
Oh, no, you can give
you
Okay,
can
all right.
elaborate on it.
Okay,
But
all right.
we just thought it'd be fun to do some
Go
quick
for it.
ones.
Go for it.
All right. What is your favorite memory from going to school at Pompey?
Our 8th grade trip to Disney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun.
Right.
That sounds really fun. Okay. Do you have one piece of advice for Catholic youth?
That's like I've got 40,
I know.
47 one piece of advice. Oh my gosh.
It can be more than one.
It can be
One
more
piece
than
of
one.
advice,
If you have advice, share it.
Right.
Live
Give it to us.
the sacraments. Go
Okay.
to
Amen.
confession.
Amen.
Go to mass.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Favorite worship song?
Oh,
I could not answer
I
that.
could never answer
favorite
that.
one of all time or favorite right now. It's so tough. Let me say. Come to the altar.
Yep.
It's a wonderful.
That's a
song.
great one. All right. You kind of answered this before, but if you weren't a priest, what would you do?
Oh, firefighter.
Firefighter? Cool.
Awesome.
Okay, here's a fun one. Favorite liturgical season or liturgical holiday?
Oh, so all right. Can I do two?
Yeah,
all right, so
absolutely.
liturgical season. I've got to say, unpopular opinion here. I love ordinary time.
Nice.
Green is not
Nice.
actually red is my favorite color, not green. But it has nothing to do with the color. But I love that we enter into the life of Christ in such a beautiful way. The
Yes.
parables that we get to go through Matthew, Mark, and Luke each year in a really like deep dive. So I love ordinary time. Unpopular opinion. My seminarian brothers would criticize me for that. And then favorite liturgical holiday, probably what I think is most underrated. I'll go toe to toe with anybody. Annunciation.
Okay.
Annunciation. We believe that life begins at conception.
Absolutely.
Science confirms that
Yes.
life begins at conception.
Yes, it does.
That is the moment of the incarnation. So, like in my mind, we celebrate Christmas with fanfare. Like the incarnation, Annunciation, like March 25th, we should celebrate with parties and festivals. And,
Absolutely.
so
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do
Let's
it.
do a party.
Yeah.
All right, and then this last one, just let us know date, time, location for your ordination and your Mass of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, easy one. Yep. So June 6th, 10 a.m., St. Joseph Cathedral for the ordination.
Wonderful.
And then the next day, Our Lady of Pompeii, 2 p.m., Sunday, June 7th, for Mass for Corpus Christi.
Yes.
All right.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
We loved having you on. You were
Yes,
very
thank
fun
you
to
so
talk
much.
to. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
so much for this.
Thank you, Elle,
Appreciate it.
and Anna. Thank you so
Yes.
much for all that you do for Our Lady of Pompeii and all that you do to lift our hearts to God in song.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.